It is almost 10 o'clock, which means that we are quite pressed for time this morning. But we will be talking with political analyst Professor Sipho Seepe. He's written a brilliant article. It talks about the ANC's struggle, unity forged in struggle, destroyed by broken promises. The long-awaited pronouncement by the KwaZulu-Natal ANC Provincial Executive Committee has set the scene for a battle royale for the soul of the party. So lots and lots of fun and games ahead of us come the elective conference and obviously the 2024 elections as well. How's that going to play out? What does it mean to ordinary people like you and I? We are already held hostage by the rolling blackouts by Eskom, suggesting that there are dark forces at play here. What's going to happen post the elective conference and 2024 elections? I shudder to think what our lives are going to look like. Professor Sipho Seepe, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning, Julie.
Response to my opening statement, please, kind sir.
Well, elections are about stock taking. It's about the performance evaluation. And when you have a number of candidates, normally you look at the candidate who has held fort. So here you look at Ramaphosa, who has been a president for the last 5 years of at least the ANC presidency. And the question is, what has he made? What has he achieved in the last 5 years as the president of the ANC will be something uppermost. Then there'll be also an issue of his performance as a president of the country. And as matters stand, things are not looking good. He made a number of promises. One was to promote that he'll deal with corruption. Secondly, that there will be economic growth. And fourthly, that there'll be unity of the organization and that he's going to address Eskom. He's been making this promise about Eskom. He's no longer making those promises. All he says is that he'll let us know when the load shedding occurs. Effectively, he has surrendered. No more lies, no more excuses. We have a president who's incompetent. When it comes to corruption, he's also failed. Because if you consider what happened during COVID-19, when about 500 billion was put aside, we still have not accounted for that. When it comes to transparency, we still are trying to deal with CR17, where a person who's a champion of transparency rushed to the court to say the South Africans should not know this information because they are not intellectually equipped to understand whether the issues are have to do with corruption or bribing and all that. And yet, on the one hand, he's a man who preaches transparency, and for some reason, the courts had agreed with him. And we've seen also the mainstream media. When Ramaphosa came in, there was what they call Ramaphoria. Everybody was counting on him to deal with issues of corruption, deal with issues of economy, and he has failed dismally. At the same time, within the party politically, he has also failed. I mean, this is the president who used to be a leader of a union, National Union of Mine Workers, and he had actually failed. Now he's a president or a person who gets booed. During the May rally this year, he had to run for cover. So you already see that even the workers no longer trust him. And last week, they also had a Congress where they made it very clear that they are instituting divorce proceedings to the ANC, indicating that as workers, they do not like the person and he has actually failed them. But having said that, one should also indicate that it's not only the workers who are unhappy with him, you also have the communities. This is a person who, before he goes to a community, they have to check what is the mood of the community. He is never sure that he'll actually be embraced. Unlike presidents who, when they come, there's embrace. So what you have is where he goes to communities, something that is orchestrated, it's maneuvered, and almost like what you may call rent a crowd, so that the president can be seen to be loved. But the long and short of it is that the ANC, when it goes, it cannot. It must think about whether this person has performed. Secondly, whether this person will assist them in the next election of national elections of this country in 2024. And at the moment, everybody suggested that more of the same is going to give disastrous
Absolutely.
results. We have 2019, where a clear message was sent when the ANC lost in a number of places. And for the first time, it was no longer a leader of society.
Professor, as a political analyst, how do you see this playing out? The country is almost crippled. We have high youth unemployment. Those young people are agitating for change. If we don't have meaningful change in the country, we'll have an uprising, undoubtedly. Who do you believe could be the right leader for the country? But we also know that the ANC is holding us as citizens to ransom because of their political structures. How do we move forward without this country? We're already falling apart, not breaking completely. How do we prevent that?
Well, unfortunately, like you say, we're held at ransom because the decision is going to be made by the ANC. And at the moment, Ramaphosa, despite his clear shortcomings, he seems to have managed to get provincial leaders to support him. For one, he also has control of the mainstream media. The mainstream media in 2017, they were saying he's the best thing that ever came to this country. Now they say, no, we must support him because he's the best of the West. So you can see the media that is in his pocket. You have a Chief Justice who has gone on record to say the election of Ramaphosa was save this country. So when you have a Chief Justice saying that, then you know you are in trouble. So you have also a pliant judiciary. You also had 3 judges who sat on another case and started singing praises on Ramaphosa to say the New Dawn made some changes even in ESCOM. But what we know that since the New Dawn, what we have had was we have had the load shedding, darkness, we have had trauma, and we have a president who does not know how to solve this issue. So at the moment, if you talk about mainstream media, you're talking about the so-called civil society, you talk about the party itself, they are under his pocket. So unless something drastically happens, this is a person who's also violated the constitution, because constitution expects that when you are a president, you must not be engaged in a hustle on the side, which is what he's doing. It is very clear that a president and members of cabinet must also get an income and not allow personal interest to cloud their responsibilities. But we've had people being arrested, kidnapped, and all that. And all the president does is to say, no, let there be due process. And we don't see all these law enforcement agencies being very eager. One must also understand that these are the same institutions, agencies that were quick to arrest people for violating COVID-19 regulations, which were violated by many other people. They target certain individuals. But when you have something more serious, a possibility of somebody violating the constitution, a possibility of a crime being committed, suddenly all these people say, no, we don't have appetite. And the president hides behind those people, say due process, knowing full well that this can take place, can take up to a number of years, because we've seen people also under the ANC step aside rule being charged when the NP does not even have a case and is not even ready to prosecute, effectively saying we're going to use the state organs to make sure or to ward off anyone who might be a challenger to Ramaphosa.
Finally, is there hope for this country? What does it look like? Do you believe that as long as the ANC is in power, they're just going to destroy the country even further? Are these coalition, coalition governments? Do you think they will work? We see what's played out in Johannesburg over the past 2 weeks with the axing of Vasco da Gama and Mpho Phalatse. What's that indicative of? Is it the ANC still wanting to hold on to power and really call the shots all of the time? And of course, it's about wholesale corruption, is it not? About these politicians lining their pockets.
Well, when you listen to the people on the ground, they are very clear. They can't wait to that you have 2024 so that they can show the ANC the door. They are very clear that the ANC has failed them, and they are also clear that they've given ANC a lot of chance. And they say there comes a time when enough is enough. And you already see the movement in that direction. So the unfortunately, given this, the support that the ANC still enjoys, we are going to have to live with coalitions. But what it means also for coalition partners is that there must be a degree of maturity based on experience, because most coalitions have shown a certain element of instability. So those who are going into coalitions must be able to put people first and must come up with a program of action and spend more time on making sure that the citizens are uppermost. At the moment, the ANC and these partners, coalitions, seem to be more obsessed about being in office as opposed to making sure that they make life better for the ordinary citizens of this country.
That's all we have time for. I could talk to you for hours on end. Undoubtedly, we'll be talking lots more in the future. You go well, and thank you once again for your time. Professor Sipho Seepe, political analyst, weighing in on the issue around, obviously, the ANC unity forged in struggle, destroyed by broken promises. Please stand by. In a minute, we'll be joined by Tembisa Fakude regarding the fourth anniversary of the death or the murder of Jamal Khashoggi.